Transitional housing, or halfway houses, they're an important step for those recovering from addiction, especially here in Kentuckiana.
But today, Metro Council President David James is accusing some of taking advantage of the system. He wants new regulations to protect the vulnerable men and women in recovery.
Heather Fontaine is telling us why the city is so concerned.
Be a good neighbor in our community.
Jackie Floyd takes pride in the Russell neighborhood.
This is my neighborhood.
But she says recently, others might be taking advantage of it.
This is our community. We have a right to say what's going on in our community.
The 30-year neighbor says illegitimate halfway houses are popping up every week. Operators who don't have permits but are still charging for the stay.
Property values are low in Russell or low in the West End. So people from other communities come in and say, I'm going to open up this, and they see it as a money-making deal.
A concern Metro Council President David James hears loud and clear.
We simply learn about them through someone, a neighbor calling and saying, all of a sudden I've got 10 people living next door to me and I don't know what's going on, but a lot of crazy things are happening.
James stood alongside the Recovery Housing Task Force, making a call for more regulations when it comes to labeling a building as transitional housing.
They put a bunch of beds in one room and say it's a halfway house, and that's not what we need right now. We need places that will actually help people.
Though there are current regulations in place, James says they aren't well defined and don't hold people accountable.
We don't mind you being in the neighborhood. We just don't want every other block or 2 or 3 on the block.
Jackie's happy to welcome more neighbors as long as they reflect Russell.
We just want anybody that comes down here and operates any type of business to be a good neighbor and do it legally.
Heather Fontaine, WHAS 11 News.
This proposal for regulations is still in the early stages now. James says it still needs to get through committee and then to the full Metro Council, but he hopes to have better standards in place by the end of April.